Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Samworld, and today we're going to be making future-based chords fairly easy inside of Spire. This is a part of the complete guide to master Spire, which is a free course on my YouTube channel if you guys don't know already. So make sure to check out the playlist to go over every section of Spire, because I'm not really going to be explaining what every knob does here. I'm just going to be explaining how to make future-based chords for people following the series. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. And I appreciate those of you guys following it, and I'm super happy for you guys because I know that you guys want to design your own sounds, and that's super cool in my opinion. Just remember to keep things simple. A lot of sounds, you know, they're not that hard to make. It's just about making them or knowing how to make them or figuring out how to make them, and that's the hard part, figuring it out, putting all your knowledge together and just experimenting to achieve a sound you heard somewhere. That's where it gets tough. But from here, guys, the first thing we're going to do is shape the sound. So, you know, with the future-based chords, it's all going to have to deal with the attack, decay, sustain, and release like every other synth. But what I mean by this is the attack and decay play a huge role. Let's say you want a very fast hit, you're going to have no sustain. And with the attack and decay, you get those nice fa-fa-fa-fa style of future-based chords that you tend to hear. You know, so you get that kind of vibe. And with that, you're going to control how fast it hits. So keep that in mind. If you have a very long attack, it's going to... So you're not going to get that fast hit. But with a low attack and low decay, you have the fast foop. Without this on, it sounds like a pluck. So this attack does everything for that vibe. Okay. Now from there, let's say you want to go for more of the classical, you know, like longer one, and higher decay and some release really does give it. As you can see there, you can have sustain to it if you want. I personally don't like to have it unless it's going to be like an lenient type of future-based chord, which will then, you know, you have 8 voices of hell, and you know, and it would just come up, and you would have a lot of layers there for your super saw. And I would go for more of silent or serum for that, because Spire does have its own sound with the sauce, as you can see, and it's not that hypey, ravey kind of a vibe. Spire is mainly huge with trance and synthwave guys for a reason, but it still has a nice vibe you can use for future-based chords if you're trying to use it. And I always recommend layering like from Spire, Silent, and Serum together to form a main sound. It's always good because each synth is going to have its own little thing. Okay, from there, guys, once we have, you know, the shape of it, we can add 8 voices of unison and detune tastefully. Don't overdo it, because some people always ask how to make that sound, when in reality they always detune it, so they never hear that. So then they hear this and they're like, that's not the same sound. So always keep in mind detunement is very important here if you want to go for that kind of vibe. Okay, the wideness is super important, because let's say you're layering sauce together, you do want to kind of cover the stereo field a little bit. So for instance, this one will be wide but not as wide, and you're gonna see the sound gets a little bit fuller in the stereo field and in the center. So you can kind of hear oscillator 2 by itself and lower the wideness, and you can kind of see coming more from the center. Now if we hear oscillator 1 with the you know, like a crazy wideness, you're gonna see it's more on the side. So when you put them together, so you're gonna get that nice kind of sting. And it's super important to think of it that way, because since you guys are making your own sounds now, you know how to make a mono stereo lead. And if you're missing something in mono, or you feel like your chords are kind of not, they're lacking and they're the only sound playing with the bass, you can have some stereo information to them to help kind of make it sound a little bit bigger. Okay, from there, guys, you can choose to apply the filter vibe, which is what most future bass does, and that's what's gonna give it that sound that you guys like, which is the whoop whoop kind of sound. Adding high resonance to that will give it that kind of, make that accentuation. So it's up to you if you kind of want to add that, overdo it. Now you guys do know from the series that there are different filters, so do mess around with them. Combo will be cool to add certain vibes to it if that's what you want. You know, let's lower that down a bit. It gives it kind of like a phasey vibe, and you can mess with the stereo plus if you want to kind of play with that. But I'm more of a fan of just a stat kind of whoops, high pass, low pass vibe that we tend to hear a lot. From there, Guys, it's all about experimentation, trying out different things other than the saw. For instance, one of my favorite things to do is use the FM one, and then use a sine wave very lightly to get that nice vibe. I'm sure you guys have heard this sound numerous of times in future. So it's all about just experimentation. Try FM, try AM Sing, try Hard FM, try vowels, which will give you kind of like that vibe there, and then you can layer it with a heavy kind of saw here, this guy over here. Okay, let's go back here and just add a very standard one, 2 voice detunement there. Okay, bit of a attack there. Now, very simple, and you can see it sounds great. Okay, so from there, guys, moving along, let's say you want to have the ARP do everything. You can have that as well, just similar to kind of how a lot of sound designers are sound designing chords for Serum. They'll have like the choo 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 kind of vibe already for you. So with that, you can go into the ARP, turn that on, and go into mode and just put chord mode, and then pick a speed, and you're gonna have so from there we can kind of get that there. Now, the other thing too is this is where you would create the ARP that you would want at a very fast rate, like 1/32. You could try that. And of course, have a low attack to that. And that's how you will create that there. But we're going to turn that off now. Now, moving on to effects, guys, there are distortions in future bass with the chords. It's just doing it very carefully so that it doesn't sound rough. Okay, and the next is the phaser, which we've talked about. It does give it a certain vibe with this frequency knob, as we already know what all of these do. Lower the rate. To kind of get that. And the chorus, my favorite chorus of all time, the J8, which is meant to mimic that retro chorus you find on the Juno or the Jupiter 8. Not too sure. I gotta read the damn manual again on that, but it will give you that nice kind of sound from the 80s that we tend to hear. Let's give this a bit of release, and we're gonna hear that. So it does have a nice vibe. Delay, I generally don't hear it in future bass. Like, what I mean by that is I don't tend to hear it on the drop with the chords, maybe in the break. But you can have it on if you want, and then some reverb, obviously, will give it a nice little bit of room there. And if you don't like that chorus, take it off. But a lot of times, keeping it simple is everything, guys. So a lot of times, you won't even need a lot of these effects. So have fun with this, guys, but that's generally how you would make your future bass chords. Remember the filters, remember shaping it, remember messing around and layering, wide, not wide, and vice versa, guys. That's going to be everything, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try and get around to answering them. And you guys keep learning Spire and making sounds in them. If you guys want to send me sounds over that you've made, or like a SoundCloud link of them, by all means do it. I'd always like to hear what people are working with in terms of sound design. It's better than hearing someone's track. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, guys, you guys have a good one. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys next time.